I really like playing indie games, and digging through the huge piles of them on Steam. You should see how many games I have to play to find one I feel is video-worthy. But that doesn't mean I don't play AAA games. Well, I would call this one AA. Before I get into the whole thing about AAA games, let me just tell you why I love Aliens Fireteam Elite. I feel really bad for this game. It is a budget game, being only $30 for the base game, but I don't think it was very successful. It only has 14,000 reviews on Steam, which doesn't feel like a lot for it being part of a well-known franchise. Actually, do people younger than me get hyped for new parts of the Alien franchise? I don't know if it holds the weight it once did. Anyway, this game is a third-person co-op shooter about facing overwhelming hordes of xenomorphs. This game also came out right around the same time as Back 4 Blood, which I imagine was a big hit to this one's sales. I mean, there are a lot of games that fit this kind of style. Co-op survival game about shooting hordes of bad guys. Back 4 Blood really took the lead on the hype train, but World War Z just had a major update around the same time. Deep Rock Galactic exists. You can always go back to Left 4 Dead 2, and there were like 3 others announced earlier that year. These other games took hype away from this one, and they feel somewhat similar. I think this one got a little overlooked, which sucks because it's pretty great. Like, let's get my biggest complaint about this game out now. There isn't enough of it. There are only 12 missions, 15 with the DLC, and 4 wave survival missions. And then, within those missions, there isn't a lot of variety. Once you've played a level once, you've seen what it has. Sure, you can poke around the level exploring for the intel pieces and the hidden chest, but once you've found that, you know where everything is. And you for sure know what's coming and when. There are a few minor variations in levels. Sometimes you go right into a room to fight a bunch of Xenos. Sometimes you go left into a different room to fight Xenos. But you always come back to the main hallway to fight more Xenos. I guess you also fight some humanoid enemies, synths, who shoot back sometimes too. But still, I want more missions because this game is very fun. Okay, we've gotten all the whinging about how I wish this game were more successful out of the way. Let me tell you the great things about this game. The best thing about this game is the combat, which is good because that's what most of the game is. Shooting your guns and using your abilities. There are tons of guns in this game, 55 I believe. Every gun is fun to use, but some are better in certain situations than others. Everything in this game earns experience as you use it, your account, your class, your weapons. This is a great combat reward for me. I love to see my numbers go up. Weapons get small bonuses when they level up, which encouraged me to switch up weapons and try new things. When I attempted something difficult, I went back to a fully leveled gun I really loved, but otherwise I was trying to max out every gun. It feels good to be working towards something and trying new things. Some game systems like this can feel like a drag, but here I liked using all the weapons so much it felt very rewarding to level many of them up. In addition, every gun has 3 attachments to add. These provide bonuses to the weapon's stats, allowing you to customize your weapons. You can greatly improve the strengths of a weapon, make up for its shortcomings, or balance out its stats. I am sure the most optimal builds for weapons exist, but I have enjoyed doing whatever I like and it's worked so far. The other part of combat is the different classes and the abilities they bring in. There are 7 different classes, each with different types of guns, 2 active abilities, and 1 passive. Some classes are more supportive, and others are more damage-focused. As each class levels up, you'll unlock modules for your kit. These are upgrades to your abilities, or just passive buffs. You get things that attach to a specific skill, so it gets reduced cooldown time, extra damage, or duration. You also get boost to a class of weapons, like fast reloads with heavy weapons. There's tons of customization possible here. Your board gets bigger the more you level up, letting you add larger buffs or attach more buffs to one specific skill. Even the weapon skills have extra modules to attach to them. The most interesting thing is that every class earns new modules as they level, but most of them can be shared between classes. Did you really like that module for the gunner for rifles? Why not add it to your demolisher? Sure, there are a few that are very specific to a class, but there are many that are universal. This encourages you to work on leveling multiple classes to make sure you unlock all the modules that will help make you a strong build. The last thing about this are unique ones. The classes all have things that modify their core active ability drastically. Like the Technician has 3 that change what their turret can do. Starts as a rapid fire gun, but one turns it into a flamethrower, one is a slower firing, harder hitting gun, and the other is a laser. These are the most fun to mess around with, and to see the advantages of each. This all makes the leveling meaningful, as you can really make your classes powerful in such satisfying ways. Now, beyond the technical stuff, the combat is really fun. Each time there's a wave of enemies, you have to balance your abilities, ammo, and consumables. Every major battle is fast and tense, especially on higher difficulties. There is satisfying feedback in your firefights. A musical sting plays each time you get a weak point kill, and a big X pops up when you personally kill an enemy. It feels really great to push the Xenos back as a swarm rushes you down, or to scrape by when they've actually swarmed over your feet and really beat you up. Beyond all this, you can activate challenge cards for every mission. These can be nice bonuses to you, like extra health, weaker enemies, stronger weapons, stuff like that. But you can also pick things that will give you more rewards on mission completion, in exchange for making the level more difficult. These can be things like beat the mission under a time limit, slower move speed, tougher enemies, or you have to finish the entire mission with just a sidearm. The nice thing is this can provide a bit of variety to missions, which I already mentioned is lacking in this game, as some of these challenges can add things like synths to pursue you the entire mission, or replacing the cannon fodder enemies with weaker versions of special enemies. Everything comes together to make a really enjoyable time, enough to get me to put in nearly 100 hours, and play a lot by myself. I mean, I have almost as much fun with this as I do with DRG, and that's saying a lot. This game has other good parts that aren't as integral to the actual gameplay. I had mentioned before that this is what I would consider to be a budget game, being $30. There are 6 cosmetic DLC packs and 1 story DLC, which makes the game more expensive, if you want all that. But the nice thing now is that you can get the game and all the DLC for $60. Does that make it no longer budget? I mean, that's kind of the standard price now. Well, things are being pushed to $70, but that's not the point here. Anyway, the base game had a few free updates, adding in 2 of the classes, a handful of guns, and some new Horde mode levels over the course of the first year. I think they always said the new classes would be free, and you would only need to buy new story content and cosmetics, which is actually a pretty nice thing for players, even a little rare in this range of games to get new classes for free. There are tons of cosmetics in the base game already. You can customize your character and your guns, which is cool. There's some wacky skins too, like this strawberry one. I don't totally see the point to the weapon decals, as they are a very small detail that basically no one will see, but you can mess with them. They also added a prestige system, where your account keeps leveling up past the max level to get some cosmetic titles and stuff like that. This isn't super exciting, but it's still nice to see that I'm earning experience for something. I know I will hit level 100 eventually, and that will feel very good. Lastly, this is an Alien game, like as in the franchise. I know everyone can see that by now and is wondering why I even mention it. I just think that there's an obvious care to make this fit into the Alien universe. Everything looks like it belongs, they nail the cassette futurism of the early Alien films, the Marines feel familiar, they even tie in Prometheus, which surprised me. But, at the same time, they aren't just tossing things in for nostalgia's sake. They aren't teasing that Ripley or Bishop will show up. This just feels like a story tucked away in some distant part of the same galaxy. Really enjoyed that. Like, I wouldn't want to live in the alien future, but to be boots-on-the-ground soldier blasting bugs like they do is a great way to spend a few hours. Now, I mentioned my biggest complaint is there's not enough of the game. There are not enough missions, and the paid DLC only adds 3 more. They are 3 very cool missions, but that and some new guns does not feel enough to justify the $30 it costs by itself. I feel like this could be improved if there was some variety in the missions, but I already said that. I just wish there were more missions. The story is pretty fun. Not like the greatest thing ever written, but it was cool seeing how everything got to the point where the Marines were called in. And, when the story ends, they tease at least 1 more DLC on top of the one we already have. It would also be nice if they had some Horde mode missions against different enemy types. As of right now, it's all Xenos. Okay, I know I said the lack of variety and needing more missions is my biggest complaint, but I lied. I think if those parts were improved, the game would have way more players, which is part of my real issue with the game. It is balanced for 3 players at all times. Now, this wouldn't really be an issue if there were more players. I've seen people complaining about looking for matches on Reddit, and with numbers like this, I can see why. They did add crossplay, which I'm sure helped. But, and this part is mostly my fault, I don't want to play matchmaking with random people online. I guess I'm just kind of over that aspect of gaming in general. I'd rather play single player, or small co-op with people I actually know. Granted, I only have one friend who likes and has played this game, and he is not as into it as I am. But I still think that if you're going to play in a game like this with a co-op focus, You should really give people who don't want to or can't matchmake better tools to play the game solo, or even just with 2 people. This gets into a series of issues I have, not specifically with this game, but with a lot of games that focus on co-op and games that require an online connection. You can play this game without a connection, but then you're stuck to single player. To focus back on this game specifically, playing with any number of players less than 3, you get AI bots to fill out your team. This would be great, except they are incredibly stupid. They will ignore enemies until they are directly attacked or you are already shooting them. They end up taking damage they don't need to, especially when someone goes down, as they often forsake anything else in the moment to attempt a res. And on difficulties where friendly fire exists, they walk right through your line of fire while you are firing and then yell at you about it. I pulled 2 bots through the campaign on intense difficulty, but I genuinely think that extreme difficulty is impossible with just AI. If you have done it, I was going to say don't tell me, but actually explain to me how you did it. I think the bots should have better AI, but what would really help is if you could level them up and tweak their kits. If the bots had some upgrades, they wouldn't feel quite so useless, and you would be able to enjoy the game single player. Just make the rewards slightly better for playing with other people. Incentivize multiplayer, don't punish single player. Despite these complaints, I have had tons of fun with this game. I have played the missions over and over and still want to go back. I've played all the Horde mode levels multiple times too. I wish the game was better because I enjoy it so much. If the issues I have with this game were fixed, I am sure I would say this is a perfect game. I kind of doubt this stuff will change, but I guess we'll see. I have a sneaking suspicion that this game will get a few more updates and probably one more DLC, and I'll be playing all of that. It'd be nice to see some new classes and guns that are a little more sci-fi in nature, but I've been very happy with the time I have spent in this game, and I know I'm going to play it more. I really do think this game is worth the $30 for the base game, but for many, the $60 price for everything in the game might be a bit too much at this point. I'm sure you can grab this on a future sale for even cheaper, but you might want to try to rope 2 friends into getting this with you if you really want to get the most out of this game. I understand that many people wouldn't have the desire to drag the bots through the campaign like I did, but this is a video on why I love this game. But hopefully I can convince you to give this game a chance and have some fun blasting aliens. Howdy y'all, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I had some major complaints with this game, but I really believe that criticism of something does not detract from how much you love something. If you really love something, you just want to see it be the best it can be. So the issues you have with it, you really want to see fixed. Anyway, I'm working hard to make more videos more often this year, but I don't want to make any promises about that. So, look forward to my next video, whenever that will be.